Make some noise, ladies and gentlemen, for my good friend and one of the killers in the agency space, JR Rivas.
Woo!
What's
Yo.
going on, JR?
Buddy.
Say JR in the chat. JR in the chat. Let's welcome him
What
in.
up? What up, Dylan, George, Brittany, James,
Faster!
Zach,
I don't want him to be able to even read your name. Faster,
Luke,
JR in the chat.
Wayne, Peter.
I don't think you can keep up with them, man.
I'm just getting error messages. I don't even see anything anymore.
All right, so we broke the chat. All right, we did what we were supposed to do. Thank you, guys. Guys, JR is coming in today. He's going to show you guys literally how to explode your business with high-level decision-making, okay? Now, JR, for those of you guys, anybody here know JR? One in the chat if you've seen JR in ads, okay?
One in the chat if you've heard of me. Two in the chat if you've never heard of me.
If you've never heard of him before, and you're like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? One or two, quick poll. All right, half-half. We're half-half here.
Half-half. I thought I was more internet famous than that at this point.
All right, what I'm going to do, JR, is without further ado, brother, I'm going to let you take it away. I got you right here in my earpiece. If you need anything, I will let you know as we get closer to the end of your presentation. Just keep your eye on your chat, brother. But without further ado, take it away.
All right, so what's up, everybody? I'm JR Rivas at JR Rivas on Instagram. And today we're going to talk about how to explode your business with high-level decision-making and tracking. So cue the quintessential marketer backstory. Grew up poor as shit. That's a real picture of the one-room studio that me, my mom, and my sister shared for over a year. We had one bed in that place, and it looks like it reaches back far beyond back here, but it actually ends right there. So you go in, it's literally one room, kitchen, bed, and then a small bathroom as well. So this is where we grew up. I spent some time in Tampa, Florida. I also wasn't the best student either. So this is an actual transcript. I hit up my high school counselor and through Facebook, and I was like, yo, shoot me over my transcript because I want to see. I had a really bad memory of what I actually was like as a student. So I wanted to see, and graduated with a 2.4 GPA, class rank 205 out of 442. So I was below average. I was below 50%. I got an F. And I didn't go to college or anything like that. I actually did one semester community college and then ended up dropping out. So all this to say, if I could figure this out after going through life with a single mother, never made more than $20,000, $30,000 a year as a waitress to now running a seven-figure company, then you guys can do this as well. And we're going to talk about exactly how to do that. So one of the things that these are just some credibility authority pictures. I actually got to ring the NASDAQ closing bell in 2014 on tax day, actually 2014 NASDAQ closing bell. So that's the picture on the left. It was on CNBC as well. Company that I was a part of had gone public the year before, did really well. Been on TV for all this stuff as well, talking about how millennials are making money on the internet without a boss and without a 9-to-5. And then here's just a few different events that I've spoken at as well. But enough about me. This is about you guys. Well, actually, one more slide about me. So what do we do today? I get this question a lot. Like, why am I credible? So today we help agency owners by finding, hiring, and training virtual assistants for them that generate them anywhere from 10 to 20 appointments per week on autopilot. So we provide the entire system to be able to do that as an agency owner. So enough about me. Now on to you guys. So all an agency is, guys, is a series of inputs and outputs. So what the hell does that mean? So here's the formula for success. You try some shit, you get feedback, you learn, and then you repeat, and you keep trying things over and over again, right? So that action drives feedback, and then you learn from that feedback, and then you make decisions. And in a nutshell, that's all that any business is. So in order to get feedback and learning, you must have great tracking. So you guys saw I was a terrible student. So I was terrible at taking notes. I was terrible at keeping track of things. So I've had to, this does not come natural to me. I had to learn this skill over time, and more importantly, learn how to make decisions based off of the data. So one thing that I say, guys, and I say this to my inner circle clients every single day, is data is the best coach. So we can sit here and we've had some amazing coaches over the last 2 days, but nothing will tell you what to do and what your business needs more than your own data and your own information and your own feedback, right? So one thing I found in common with any 7, 8, 9-figure earner that I've ever met is they're excellent at tracking. And typically the more money someone makes, the better they are at tracking. So I learned that if I wanted to be successful, if I wanted to make a lot of money, I had to get really, really good at tracking. And this is something that's inherently difficult for most people. So we're going to talk about what the solution is. So 99% of agency owners I meet under 7 figures a year are terrible at tracking. I'm like, you know, all they know is how much revenue they made. That's it. How much they're making per month. I say, how many sales calls did you take last month? What's your cost per client acquisition? What's your lifetime value? Nobody has any clue. How much outreach did you do? How many people did you get in front of last month? How many pitches did you make? How many one-call closes did you have? Zero clue, right? So it's impossible to make decisions that are going to grow your business if you don't have that information, right? So guilty as charged. So let me know in the chat right now, what do you guys think in terms of your how good you are at tracking and how much you know all the numbers that I just went over. So give me a 1 in the chat box if you're really good at it, 2 if you think you could use some help. What gets measured gets managed, correct? 1, I'm terrible. So I'm seeing a lot of totally suck at it. This is true. Please tell me how to do it. So what if I could show you guys how to do this without actually having to do anything at all and not having to do anything in order to have your tracking be on par with, like, say, a Fortune 500 company. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So what should you track? What is even worth tracking? What's worth measuring? So we're going to talk about that. But before we talk about that, let's talk about some common agency problems and how to fix them. So I want to give you guys here today I don't want to give you guys a strategy, because a strategy becomes outdated by the time this presentation's over. I'll already have to update it. So I wanted to give you guys something here today that's going to help you for the next 20 to 30 years of your life, right? And that's the gift of how to think, which has been really, really tough for me to figure out, right? So one of my favorite books in the world is 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. And it's all about, Peter Thiel is one of the co-founders of PayPal, one of the original PayPal 6, like PayPal Mafia, part of the team that went on to found, now Elon Musk went to do Tesla, a couple of the guys founded Google, and they've gone on and done a bunch of cool things. So this is a great book for learning how to think at a high level. And by reading that book, I realized that everything that I was doing was so surface level, and it really wasn't the way that a high performer or that a billionaire thinks. That book is like the Bible on how to build a billion-dollar company, the questions that you need to answer, the problems you need to be able to solve. And he breaks it down for you step by step. So one of the things that I learned from that book is if something is not tracked and it's not tracked well, it's not even worth doing. However strongly you feel about that thing, if you can't accurately track it, or you don't have the resources to track it, it's not worth doing at all. Right? So that goes for any client acquisition strategy that you can think of, any sales strategy, right? So there's only 4 things that could ever really go wrong in your agency. There's only 4 problems. So this entire agency business, it seems very, very complicated, but when you break it down, there's really only 4 things to worry about. So we're going to talk about those 4 things, and I'm going to give you the solutions to those 4 things. And the way that you take action on this is through tracking. So we're going to go through those 4 things right now. So if you want to know the 4 things that could ever go wrong and how to fix them, give me a 4 in the chat box. Someone said, give me the name of the book again, 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. So 4 in the chat box. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Luke, Blaine, Zach's with me. James is with me. Lisa's with me. Michael's with me. Shannon's with me. Gio's with me. Jason's with me. Joe's with me. Social Proof PR. I love the name. So let's talk about these 4 things. So the first thing that could ever go wrong is that you're not booking appointments, right? So if you're not booking appointments for your agency, it's literally the first step. It's the most basic of the most basic thing, right? So people come to us and they're like, hey, JR, I just need more appointments. I got everything else figured out. I got my sales figured out. I got my retention figured out. I got my systems figured out. I just need more appointments. So I'm like, really? Tell me more about how you've literally figured out step 2, 3, 4, and 5 of building an agency, but you still have mastered step 1. So it just makes no sense, right? So if you're not booking appointments, it only comes down. So within these 4 problems, there's only 2 or 3 sub problems. And within those sub problems, there's only 2 or 3 solutions, right? So I'm going to break that down. So number 1, if you're not booking appointments, biggest thing, messaging's probably off. You don't know your customer enough. You don't know what they want. You're trying to sell them leads when they want appointments. You're trying to sell them appointments when they want patients. You're trying to sell them one thing when they want something else. So real quick on messaging, here's how I kind of go about that. Anytime we're jumping in a new niche, I try to figure out what has this person tried in the past, what has worked, what hasn't worked, what are they currently doing, and what's their goal. And I have to get very, very, very clear on those things, right? So my messaging is going to be completely based off of what they told me, what that market told me they want. Funny story. So my girlfriend runs an agency, and she deals with it's in the beauty niche, right? So one of the clients that she was talking to, they were telling us, they went on for like 15, 20 minutes on how Groupon takes 54% of their front end revenue, how Groupon she looked at her Groupon sends you a statement at the end of the year, and Groupon was making more than her. And on top of that, Groupon also controls the discount. So they were also discounting because of COVID, an extra $50. So when it's all said and done, after her costs, she was making literally nothing for the past year. So that is an example of something that they tried and a frustration that they have. Now I'm going to use that in my messaging, right? But in order to do that, I have to understand my client. So another reason why I'm a big fan of niching down, which is a whole nother story, a whole nother rant. So once you have your messaging right, you know what they want, you know what they've tried, you know why it hasn't worked. The next thing is to get in front of the right audience. So people ask me like, Jared, what's the best client acquisition method? The best client acquisition method is all of them, right? Wherever your client is, you need to be. So we prospect on LinkedIn, we prospect on Facebook, we prospect on Instagram, we run Facebook ads, we run Instagram ads, we run Instagram swipe up ads, we do story ads. We do anything that will get us in front of our ideal client once we have our messaging dialed in. I listened in a little bit of Akbar's presentation. He talked a lot about messaging, important stuff, right? So the third thing and the third reason why you might not be booking appointments is you're simply not getting in front of enough people. One of my friends does coaching as well, and she deals with chat bots and messenger bots and stuff like that. And she was telling me about one of her clients who was like, hey, I'm not getting any results with cold email. And she's like, how many emails did you send? And he's like, oh, I sent 20. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but 20 is not a good sample size. It's not a good enough sample size. We do minimum 1,000 a day. My most successful clients, they do 5,000 to 7,000 cold emails a day. And that's just one avenue, right? My most successful clients are booking appointments from multiple different avenues, right? So now that we have fixed the appointment problem, so it's either your messaging, it's either your volume, or you're just not getting in front of the right people. You're not getting in front of the right audience, right? So you don't know where your customer hangs out and you're not getting in front of them, right? So now that we've solved that, the next problem that you're almost always going to encounter is appointments not showing up, right? So you do all the work to get the appointments. You're super excited. Your calendar's packed. And then 1 out of 10 show up. And this has happened to me. Give me a 10 in the chat box if you've ever had appointments not show up. If you've ever had no-shows or you've had a no-show problem and you're like, man, what's going on? Like, I don't understand why people aren't showing up. They're booking, right? So the only reason, there's a couple of reasons people don't show up. Number one, and this is a simple fix, your scheduling window. So we only allow people to book with us 2 to 3 days in advance, unless they're in a certain niche that will restrict them from doing that. The only exception I've really found is doctors, where they're in the next 1 to 2 days, they're not going to have a 15-minute window available. But other than that, most niches, I typically don't let them book more than 2 to 3 weeks, 2 to 3 days out. That will help your show up rate a ton right there. Typically next day as well. And then secondly is your nurture. So we get in trouble all the time, and by in trouble, I mean people curse me out via email almost on a daily basis because we're so aggressive with our follow-up. Like, you'll book a call with us and like 6 or 7 emails later, it's been 5 minutes since you've booked a call with us. So not literally, but we get very, very aggressive with our follow-up. And this is why, because people don't show up, right? So don't be mad at me, the marketer, for being aggressive with my follow-up. Be mad at everybody else for not showing up, and then me increasing my follow-up and that creating the desired result. So anytime I see somebody, I'm sure you guys see it all the time, people talking shit on Facebook ads. If you ever seen my Facebook ads, you see a crap ton of people talking shit. Give me a 1 in the chat box if you've ever seen one of my Facebook ads, and give me a 2 if you've then read the comments in one of my Facebook ads. So people talk shit all the time because my marketing method is aggressive, right? So one thing that I always say when people talk shit and they're like, oh, well, why are you marketing this way? Or why show this or whatever? One of my best performing ads is like me and my girlfriend were on a boat in a bathing suit. And I'm not really a lifestyle marketer, but that's also it's one of our best converting ads. So don't blame me for running the ads, blame the market for responding to them, right? So people respond to this stuff. The more aggressive you are, the more people will show up, right? So we do a text, email, and the charcoal face mask. Yeah. So quick tip on Facebook ads. When it comes to running ads, I typically only, I don't like, people ask me like, how do you come up with all these images for your ads? I literally go to my phone, I go to the camera roll, I scroll through all the images until I find something that's funny, interesting, or will elicit a positive or negative response. And I will run that. So none of my ad photos are planned. It's literally just pictures from my phone. But people get so mad. But anyways, besides, that's neither here nor there. So nurture sequence, right? So we will send a bunch of emails in between the time that they get on, and we'll send a few different kinds of messages. So number 1, we'll send the testimonial. So we'll say, hey, thanks for booking a call. Did you hear about so-and-so that also booked a call and got this result? Very simple. Number 2 is what I call the myths email. So here's a common myth that I hear people say when we get on these kind of calls. So I just wanted to go ahead and dispel that right away, AKA overcome objections. And we'll talk more about that in a bit. And then the last thing that I'll do is just a simple story. So I'll just tell a story from my life. If you're on my email list, we send an email out every single day. Yesterday, the email that went out was a picture of me in a onesie. So if you're not on my email list, I'm sorry, but you missed out on a picture of me in a onesie. So I just tell stories, right? And just tell stories that lead to a point, and then just remind them about the call. And the reason why, and there's really only one reason why people don't show up to calls. And it's because the relationship is not as well established in their mind. So think about this. You would never make a coffee date with your best friend and not show up and not call them and tell them that you're not coming. But people do that because that relationship's established. But people do that to you all the time. So what does that tell you? The relationship isn't established. So the second someone books a call with us, I'm like, how can I make it so that by the time they get on the phone with me, they have a shrine of me in their closet and they light candles around it and sing hymns and haikus. So I try to build that relationship ahead of time, right? So if you don't have at least a 70 to 75, 70% is typically the goal to shoot for. 75% is really good. 80% is the best I've seen. And we're talking like you're doing cold traffic, not referrals, right? So the next issue that you might encounter is appointments not closing, right? So who here has gotten on a sales call and you made an offer and the appointment didn't close? So this is more a issue in the way of thinking, right? Rather than anything else that you're doing. So like I said, I'm not going to give you tactics. I'm going to give you things that never change. And I'm going to teach you how to think about these problems. So if you're not selling, if you're getting on calls and you're not closing, the number one question I ask myself is, am I selling through my marketing or am I selling through brute force? So we run a sales team, and any person can jump on our sales team and within 1 week close a deal. And that's not because they're an amazing salesperson, and it's not because I'm an amazing sales trainer. It's because we do most of our selling through our marketing, not through brute force and trying to strong arm people on the phone and overcome 25 objections and stuff like that. That stuff's important, right? But that's like 1/8 of the closing the sale process is overcoming objections. And then the second thing is overcoming objections before they actually come up, right? So if you want to, so here's a perfect example. One of the top objections that we used to get in the beauty niche was, hey, I've tried Facebook ads before, they didn't work. So we'd go through the whole presentation. We'd get to the end. We'd go through our demo, get to the end, and they're like, oh, I already tried Facebook ads. It didn't work. So goodbye. So now what we do is we address that beforehand. So we show a testimonial. Hey, here's Janine. She ran Facebook ads before and it didn't work. Then she started working with us, and a month later, she was closing appointments with Facebook ads, right? Then the next thing we'll do is we'll overcome those through emails as well. So we're helping our show up rate, but we're also helping our sales rate. So anytime we listen to all our sales calls, anytime that we get an objection, I'm asking myself, okay, how can I work this back into our marketing so that we don't get this objection? So I want them, like, here's one of my rules of thumb, and you'll learn this if you read the book 0 to 1. Here's one of my rules of thumb when it comes to scaling. Complexity is the enemy of scale. Write that in the chat box for me, guys. Complexity is the enemy of scale. So, and complexity and variability is the enemy of scale, right? So what are humans? Humans are massive variables. A sales guy could have a good day, then he could have a bad day. Then him and his girlfriend could break up, so he's off on his game today. Then this day he just doesn't feel like it. Then this day he feels really good, so he crushes it, right? It's a ton of variability. So I ask myself, how can I remove variability through automation, right? So how can I replace human variability with automation? So marketing messages, your emails that go out on a daily basis, and what people see before they book a call with you, that's automated, right? So you can control that. There's no variability. They're going to see that same message every single time. The message is going to be the same every day. So would I rather rely on the salesperson who could have a good day or a bad day to close deals, or should I rather get people as close to a 10 as possible before they get on the phone? Another great book that will help you with sales is called The Way of the Wolf. It's by Jordan Belfort. And one of the things he says is that in order to take action, in order for someone to close, they need to be at a 10 in 3 areas: you as a person, your company, and your product, right? So when I read that, I was like, man, how can I get someone as close to a 10 as possible before they even get on the phone with us, so that by the time they get on the phone with us, they're as close to a 10 as possible on me as a person. They're as close to a 10 as possible on my company. They're as close to a 10 as possible on my product. And this will change your life, because when you start doing this, it's no longer about trying to strong arm people and make crazy guarantees and stuff like that to get sales. Your marketing is doing the heavy lifting. So next, fulfillment and retention. So if fulfillment is your problem, just use DashClicks. Duh. Moving on. So that's it. That's pretty much it. Simple as that. So I got about 10 minutes left. So here's the thing. None of this is going to get fixed unless you can diagnose these issues, right? So if you were to go to the doctor, and your doctor was like, hey, something's wrong with you. You go to the doctor's like, hey, where's the pain? And you're like, I don't know. And doctor's like, is it your knee? You're like, I don't know. Is it your breathing? I don't know. Is it headaches? I don't know. Like, he can't write your prescription. He can't do surgery because he won't know anything about you. He won't know anything about your situation. He doesn't know where the breakdown is, right? So you can, if you said to the doctor, I think that the breakdown is in my diet, it's still not accurate information, right? So one of the things that I do is I track everything, right? So we track everything start to finish. And that allows us to make accurate diagnosis. And if I need coaching or if I need help, I can go to my coach and I can say, look, coach, here's what's going on in my life. Here's what's going on in business. Here are the numbers. Tell me the story that the numbers are telling me, tell me the story that the numbers portray, right? So here's the tracking solution that every agency owner needs. So I'm going to break off here for a second. So real quick, I'll show you guys our tracker and how we track these things on a daily basis. So every single day of our lives, this gets inputted. So the cool thing is your VA should be doing this, not you. So I actually don't do anything on here. I just learn how to read the data and then I make decisions, right? So this top part tracks your MRR. So MRR, any cancellations, any MRR lost gets inputted in here. New clients and monthly recurring revenue added gets carried up from down here. Any outreach done on every platform and how it was done. If you're running ads, your ad dashboard stats go in here as well. And then the calls that you get booked get documented right here. And then your sales calls as well, discovery calls booked, discovery calls taken, your show up rate, your close rate, etc. Any revenue and any recurring revenue gets tracked here as well. So again, your VA does this, not you. And the cool thing about this dashboard is look at all the different places I would have to go to find this information if I did it the way that 99% of agency owners do it, right? So I'd have to go to Facebook ads, ClickFunnels, Acuity to look at our schedules, Slack to look at our applications, Facebook ads dashboard to look at how much we spent, our Acuity again, our Stripe account to see how much money we made, our Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram to see if we got how many messages we sent out. So it's very hard to make a diagnosis when your data is scattered all over the place, right? So this is designed to give you information to make a diagnosis so that you know what is the problem, what's the bottleneck that you're facing right now, and then you can resort back to the solutions that I gave you guys earlier. So give me a 1 in the chat box if you think this is pretty cool. 1, 1, 1, awesome, thank you. So this was something that we built custom. So another cool thing is the notes section. So one of the things that I love about this, it's very, very simple, is we journal, and we like journaling and documenting is very commonly spoke about in the self-improvement industry, but no one ever talks about journaling for your business. So in the notes section here, we use it to document any changes that we made. So I changed my headline from this to this. I attended Chad's virtual summit masterclass, right? I started using this new client acquisition method. I enrolled in this coaching program. All that gets documented here. And then what we do with that is we have visuals, right? So everything in our business is documented with visuals. So our impressions, our opt-ins, our number of opt-ins, our calls, our amount spent, our sales calls scheduled, sales calls taken on a weekly view, a monthly view, a quarterly view, and an annual view, right? So I try to make decisions on a monthly basis, not off of a daily basis. At the bare minimum, a weekly basis, but typically I'll change something, wait a month, see what happens. And then this section down here is supposed to draw correlations between the stats that matter the most in your business. So the number one thing that I've seen across over 100 plus of my clients at this point is one thing, really: more calls equals more revenue. So I've never seen someone take more calls and make less money. So if you know that, this is all you need to focus on: calls versus revenue, outsource the rest to DashClicks and just worry about booking more calls and making more revenue, right? So I've never seen, and it's kind of funny because in every single one of my clients, I see the trend. The more calls they book, the more money they make. So doesn't it make sense to not worry about all this other bullshit and just focus on booking more calls and centering your life around that, and then reading these numbers, right? So I got a few minutes here left, so I will wrap up here with this. I'll check the comments real quick. Cool, I got about 5 minutes. So who wants to know how they can get that tracker? Give me a 5 in the chat box if you want to know where you can get that tracker. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. I don't know. It doesn't seem like you guys actually want it. Break the chat. Break the chat. Break the chat if you want the tracker. All right. Well, I actually paid someone $845, and it took him over 13 hours to build this tracker. So this is an actual receipt of the dude that I paid. He's a data analyst, visual data analyst or something like that. So it took him over 13 hours to build. And it took more than that because there was some back and forth with me and him, right? So because I paid $845 to build out this tracker, you can't have it. Just kidding. If you want the tracker, go to shoot an email to gia@instantleverage.com with the subject line tracker, and we'll make sure we shoot you a copy. So once you get it, all you'll have to do is it's in Google Sheets. So you'll hit File, make a copy, and then you'll have this set up for you as well. And remember what I said, guys, you're not supposed to be the one in here filling this out every single day. Your VA should be the one that fills this out on a daily basis. If you are doing that, if you're, because it's honestly, it takes like 30 minutes to go out and find all this information. So you don't want to tie up 30 minutes of your day when you can hire a virtual assistant for $3 an hour. And for literally $1.50 per day, you have all the information you need to make high level decisions. That's my time, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate the crap out of everybody who showed up. Chad, thank you so much for having me. You are a boss. I love everything that you do at DashClicks. I watch everything you guys do well and model a lot of that in my business. So thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you, man. That makes me feel good about life. I'll tell you that much. I'm getting that a lot lately, so damn, thank you very much. I think we're doing something right, which is awesome. Dude, how many of you guys like that? Drop a 5 in the chat really quick. Let's keep the chat going really quick. Did you guys like that? Was that cool with you guys? Drop a 5 in the chat. Make a little bit of noise. Let's make a little bit of noise. Just not a lot, just a little bit. Let's make a little bit of noise. You guys think that was crazy? Right? Who's going to go out and get the tracker? Keep going with the 5s if you're going to go out right now and get the tracker. You are, right? Amazing. I love it. JR, I don't know where you disappeared to, but thank you so much, brother. We appreciate you, man.